Atlantis. These women have just seen their doctor, Dr. Death. He stalks the city through the dark of night.
I think somebody's coming toward my apartment.
He has powers more terrible than any man who ever lived. Don't answer your doorbell.
What do you want?
It may be Dr. Death making a house call. Rated R.
Yes, it could happen to you, but hopefully it won't, at least not before you join us sometime in the future for Dr. Death. In fact, I'm not even sure when we're going to do that because next weekend there's no show.
Yes.
That's the bad.
Sorry for the bad news. We are off next weekend.
But we're going to be back the first weekend in March. Still haven't gotten the guest lined up for that yet, so I'm not sure who it will be. And for now, though, we've got Justin Burning with us on the second segment. Amazing. Thank you, Justin.
Thank you. Glad to be
Thanks
back.
for staying up late. You said this was the latest you've been up in a while.
Yeah, I got 2 young kids, so being up past 9:30 or 10 is not really an option usually. When I gotta get up at 5:30 or 6 to deal with them.
Yeah.
But I'm hanging in there. I'm still
Awesome.
awake, still cognizant.
Awesome.
What time you got to get up tomorrow?
Well, it was gonna not matter, but we just last minute planned a trip out of town, so probably gonna get up around 6:30 or 7 so we can get out on the road. So yeah, well, it'll be fine.
Well, anytime you want to cut out, it's a-okay.
All right, we'll see how I do.
Yeah. Well, welcome back, Bill. I'm so excited. This is the first time you've seen this. What did you think?
It's amazing. I loved it. And it's probably one of my most favorite things that I've watched in the last couple of months. Not that,
Awesome.
I watch as much stuff as you do, but it was very exciting. It was transgressive. It was gross. Not in the places where you were expecting. Like the gore wasn't really all that gross, but like the dishwasher was disgusting.
Oh,
It sort of has now I'm thinking about it, sort of reminds me of Gummo in a way.
yeah.
Like just that's the icky grossness
Yeah.
of their existence.
Yeah, it's real grossness too. It's lived in grossness.
Yeah, something that real slobs came up with just
Yeah.
by being existing on Earth.
Like, was their mom more mad about how gross the house looked or the blood all over the toilet? Like, which is the, and how many things they ruined?
She's probably really pissed.
Yeah.
Because she didn't know that the condition of her house was going to be immortalized the way it was. I think we lost Justin again. He'll be back.
Yeah. I love this graphic though, Bill. This is a wonderful graphic.
I just got our TVs up. We already lost our guest.
Yeah. But this is wow, David has seen it twice in a theater and once with the Polonia brother. I can't imagine what that's like.
Yeah, that's amazing. There were some strange things going on in this movie. This psychosexual manifestation of the passing of adolescence. It was like super bad.
Yeah.
But with monsters.
And strange elves that kill cats and pee on you.
Well, they didn't actually show the cat being killed, did they?
No, but he said, "You're the one that did it." And he's like, "Yes." And then he peed on the photo on the Polaroid.
Did they show the cat dead?
No.
Okay. I didn't remember that, but I thought maybe I missed something.
Yeah. Hey, welcome back.
All right, guys.
It's all working out. Yeah, the shower scene is probably the most disturbing thing because on one hand, like you can tell we talk about it, it's a piece of HVAC, but on the other hand, it's also terrifying looking. So it's like it's very surreal, like that it's something from the real world that has been turned into something unreal, and they're just going with it.
Well, and it's the DIY vibes. Like it's just like household material. Kind of works because like maybe I'm giving them too much credit here, but maybe it was supposed to be crap laying around the house that came to life and is attacking him. Like that seems feasible in this world. That it's just like a bunch of bullshit that was in the garage that is now become some
Yeah.
kind of penis creature that is strangling a nude Polonia brother in the shower.
This long, loving pan up his brother's body. That was pretty amazing. I was like, whoa, dude.
Like there is just like I mentioned in the first segment, there's just so much in this movie that just is a stand-in for a penis. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
So many knives, so many long instruments, and it's crazy.
Yeah, and it's like they live next to a monk.
Yeah.
Like
that's what outside of like the hills of China or whatever, like monks are mainly consolidated in small Pennsylvania suburban neighborhoods. So
at some point the monks all scattered and moved to suburbia.
It completely makes sense that there would be a monk here that would instigate all
Wellsboro,
this.
PA. Wellsboro, PA. This blew my mind that this movie was made in Wellsboro because I go there occasionally, and it's this little like sort of touristy town in the middle of nowhere in Pennsylvania, and it's there's like 2 or 3 blocks of all these shops, like bookstores, clothing stores, tchotchke places, and there's an actual old movie house, the Arcadia, I believe it's called, and then there's nothing after that. It's just, that's all it is. It's like a couple of blocks, at least the built up stuff that looks all vintage and old. It's a really cool place, though. It's especially nice to go to Wellsboro in the fall. I'd never go there in the winter, as is depicted in Hallucinations, because it's no.
Ed asked, "Is this the lowest budget movie we've watched?" Yes, I do think this is the lowest budget movie we've watched.
Well,
I think it was less than $5,000, if I remember correctly. I mean, it really looks less than $5,000.
I think Things has a bigger budget than this, so yeah, a little bit.
It's funny because like they had I forget what the exact figure was, but they Barry J. Gillis and the director had Jordan had like they had, I don't know, they floated it out there in the ether that the budget was like $250,000 for Things. Wow. And like they're just like,
you think that's true?
No, it's not. Like Barry's Gillis has come back to say like, no, that was just a number we put out there to like, I don't know, gain some sort of credibility. But I think it's like he said the number was like closer to like 50,000 or something like that. But yeah, it was definitely like the Hallucinations is definitely like lower budgeted than Things was, though.
Things has better monsters than this movie does. Although the monsters in this movie were very inspired. Like we already mentioned, the penis dryer vent monster. And then there was like, I love the face of that monk after they reveal it at the end. It looks like
that's my favorite part of the movie.
It's like a weird mosaic or something of items.
And it's
his face.
And it's obvious that someone's just like they have it on the stick that they're holding up, and someone's behind it, like doing the pantomimes with the hands. But like it just works for some reason. It's just
I didn't
don't
notice that.
Yeah, it's just it's so lo-fi, but like it just all kind of fits the vibe of this flick.
Yeah.
And it's just like so open for interpretation, I think. And I've talked to Mark Filoni about this, and he insists like they didn't like. I was like, was there some kind of like fucked up shit that happened in your childhood that you're like putting in this? Like, is this autobiographical at all? And he's like, no, it's just we're coming up with stuff or whatever. But it's like there's a lot going on though.
That's not just coming up with stuff. That's like some stuff working itself out.
Yeah, there are definitely some themes. And that's part of what makes it such an interesting movie, because it like doesn't, both what happens visually on screen and then like what happens in the story and all the themes that show up, like it just doesn't feel like random like sometimes that's what the horror movies feel. And this one is like I mean, there's sort of an interesting article I read in Dread Central. I mean, there's lots of homoerotic themes in the movie, but like he kind of goes in, this author went in a little bit more on how much of that plays out. And it's just, there's definitely a lot of read into that, like whether or not there's an aspect of it where maybe these kids are afraid that they're going to have to leave the house and join adulthood. They don't want to leave puberty. They're afraid of what's going to happen in the next stage of their life. They're afraid that their mom's going to be gone forever, like probably, literally, and then also, figuratively. They're not going to have their mom's support going forward. And then there's also like, is one of them, one of them obviously is gay and is afraid of how that's going to affect their familial relationship. Like, are they afraid to come out to their brother or their mom or whatever? There's a lot of phallic objects and the fear of how that's going to destroy both their mental and physical well-being. There's just all sorts of like stuff going on. It's really like more so than a lot of even mainstream movies. Like there's just a lot of just weird layers you can peel back.
Yeah. I like that David said when AGFA had Mark Polonia in attendance for a screening he went to, he was so shy he stood off to the side of the aisle instead of up center stage. It was kind of adorable.
I can see that from them. I mean, they're kind of dorky for sure, but that would have been a cool screening to go to.
Yeah.
And it's weird that there was this one, because this is kind of like it was sort of in like limbo for a while. It didn't get released until they had kind of made a name for themselves on things like feeders, and that got swept up into the Independence Day hype when that came out. It was like one of those movies that just happened to like fill a niche that they needed in video stores when alien invasions were, popular. So they got feeders out there and it got a lot of rentals and got on cable and stuff. And so they got kind of known for that. This finally showed up, even though it was finished in like 86 or 87, and then finally got released much later than that. But I think it's one of the better films in their filmography, just because it feels so unfiltered and pure, like before they started doing a lot of like things to make a living, like Shark and Amityville rip-off movies and stuff like that.
Yeah, my wife had actually rented feeders as a kid whenever I got the Blu-ray, but she's like, we watched this movie and laughed at it all the time. And she's like, I can't believe that I'm like, yeah, but it was a video store. It was in a lot of stores. It made it a lot of places.
It's hilarious to think of like how many people were like, if there was anyone that was into Independence Day and like rented feeders expecting something similar.
Yeah.
And then what they actually got, because it's like an adorable movie. I mean, it's not nearly as entertaining as Hallucinations, I don't think, or anything like Splatter Farm or whatever, but it's quaint, and there's like really crudely, cheaply made like paper mache aliens that like, but no one is ever gonna think that's in the same anything with Independence Day.
Yeah, it's astounding that either people would. It feels like either people are going to love the charm of it, or they would just be enraged that this movie dared to make them think that it was what it was.
Yes, hopefully more of the former, because it's
it's
fun. I mean, it seems like you'd have to be a dumbass to be like, I'm mad at this for not being Independence Day. It's like, what did you expect?
Well, that's always like the pejorative launch at these movies, is that it's cheap. Like, yes, of course it's cheap, but there's no money. Like, but what did they do with no money?
Yeah, that's definitely what you got to get over with these. And I think that's what I tried to write that into the book too. Like that you have to approach these differently than a typical movie. Like you can't go in expecting, Hollywood production values. I don't know why you would, if you knew anything about how they were made, but like definitely have to shift that. It's sort of like when you even just like watch, if you're used to watching American horror and then you go to watching like Italian horror. Like there's a certain shift in expectations and perception you have to make to appreciate Italian horror. I think that's similar here. Like you can't ever bother to compare something like Hallucinations to, whatever, it's something that James Wan made. It's just you have to go, okay, well, it's this is made by an 18-year-old in his mom's house, and she probably didn't know about it. So, but once you do that, like once you can make that jump, I think you start to get the appreciation for these type of movies where you're like, okay, yeah, I mean, it's cool that this dude was like had nothing, maybe $5,000, but that was like that maybe have even been generous, and like maybe had a script, maybe didn't have a script, just had their friends and family like helping out, like literally were like, shoot, I need to make like a a worm creature to attack me in the shower. Like, what do I make that out of? What's kind of like, what do I got in the house that like it could be a tube? And like, well, yeah, it's this dryer duct. That'll work. And so there's like,
I was just wrestling with one of those in our own house. So I was that scene resonated with me.
And it's just, I think that's cool. Like that you can, it really more than even watching like Spielberg or whatever, like you watch these movies like, yeah, I could fucking do this, man. Like I can make my own movie. And it's might be better than this. It's like, I'm never going to be better than Spielberg, but it might be better than this. And I think that's a really cool aspect of all this. Like once you can shift those expectations and appreciate them for their gonzo, just DIY ethic.
I think that's absolutely right, Mike Justice. Well, this movie did have lots of atmosphere. Because especially somebody mentioned earlier about the winter setting and capturing that snowed in feel, but there was also a Deadly Spawn vibe going in this. Like that's one of the reasons I love the Deadly Spawn is it's so perfect. It takes place mostly during the day, and it captures that sense of being indoors when it's really rainy outside and sort of like being trapped. And this movie had that going too. It also had tidy whities in it the same way Deadly Spawn did too.
There's a lot of tidy whitey and stuffed. Bill claimed stuffed tidy whities in this. The sock, perhaps in them.
I had to rescind that later when I saw the shower scene. I was
like,
okay.
I was going to ask if you'd actually like made a comparison once you saw the Polonia Dingling actually hanging out.
It looked real to me.
Okay.
It suddenly explained why there was that giant lump in his tidy whities, but good for him.
Yeah, it's
now we know.
Yeah, it's I just this is a good like entryway movie, I think, for the SOV movies as well, because there was like a decent amount of positive feedback in the comments about this one, and I think that's going to be kind of unfortunately rare, I guess, with SOV horror, but like it's a good first step into the world because you get like a more refined view of like what is possible when all you've got is your creativity and ingenuity and no other resources. Yeah, I wish that the Polonians had continued along this line. There's some other good stuff in their filmography, but yeah, like unfortunately, a lot of the SOV guys, like once they were forced to move digital and once like kind of the budgets dried up, and video stores kind of died out, they had to go to making whatever would pay them a little bit. And so, yeah, they're doing like a lot of the early SOV guys like Donald Farmer, Tim Ritter, Mark Polonia. A lot of them are doing like, they're the ones out there doing things like Shark Exorcist and, Sharks of the Corn and stuff like that, where they're like these Asylum-like ripoffs of popular franchises. And, those movies have some cool stuff in them sometimes, but like, I think they get buried even more so by just people writing them off as like complete ripoffs of whatever franchise.
Hopefully they're at least making some money, I guess, and able to
survive. Yeah, I mean, if you're chugging along at a fast enough pace, I think it seems possible. Like Donald Farmer seems to do this full time, and Tim Ritter seems to make a decent living, and they're not just doing movies too. They're also doing things like being hired to film and produce extras for all these like Blu-ray releases that are coming out and stuff, or doing interviews and things like that. So they're a lot of them are plugging away, making a living. But there's like plenty of these guys that like made one movie and then were gone. Like we talked about Chester Turner, he only made two and then disappeared. Some of them made a few and then went away, or they, went on to completely different careers that weren't film related at all.
Yeah,
But
those people are interesting. The ones that didn't make that many movies and then disappeared, because I think there is a difference between, there are directors out there who just churn out movie after movie after movie for sci-fi, and that's its own thing, because those movies, they're just so like, they're put together in a certain way, a very hurried way, and you can identify that in each one of them. But that's different from a movie like even this one. This took a lot of time and effort went into this, and there was actually blocking in the scenes, like a crude form of blocking that they were doing, and it wasn't just point and shoot. They set these shots up, and that's different than people that just crank out the movies over and over. I think that's more interesting. What do you guys think?
I agree. And it gets tough to tell, like, because like when you have those movies like the Amityville shark ripoffs, stuff like that, where it's the concept that rules the film, not the filmmaker. The whoever could have stepped into that seat and made the same movie. They added like a little bit of their own thing, but they're not really bringing a style. And it's sort of like when I was talking about comic books earlier, it's like how like Marvel and DC used to do things, like where it's like it didn't matter who was writing or drawing it, like it's Batman or it's Spider-Man or whatever. So it's sort of that same thing. Like you lose that charm, you lose the sense of like, I don't know, like panache that some of these people brought to it. So yeah, I kind of like the ones that, like, I mean, that really feels I don't know, like inappropriate maybe to use the word auteur, but like the ones that had like a little bit more of an auteur like vision to their film, where like it was obvious they had something in their mind they wanted to make, and they made the closest thing to it that they could. Those are like the more interesting ones than a lot of the films out there now, where it's like you can tell they wanted to make something low budget. They're like we're gonna meet this demand for something like a low budget ripoff, and it doesn't matter how we do it. There's definitely
less of the chromification of these movies, where you know what I mean. Like a lot of stuff that is streaming now is like in on the joke a little more, versus a lot of shot on video doesn't feel like that.
Yeah, for sure. And most of it is like, yeah, it's not the funny stuff isn't intentional usually most of the time. And it's just, yeah, it feels way more genuine. Like it's just the output of someone's brain fart and not like a product. That's why it's a little tough to like, because we're going, now that we've got all these boutique labels out that are releasing these and people seem to be loving it, there's a lot more people that are jumping in to like try to recreate that feel. I mean, we're in general like in an 80s and 90s nostalgia period right now. So, I mean, it makes sense that they would try to recreate like these type of movies for an audience today, but a lot of them, like, you just couldn't, because it was very unique circumstances that led to them being made the way they were made, and you can't reproduce that. That's not to say that there aren't like digital filmmakers out there making interesting stuff, but like you can't create these same types of movies in the same way, I don't think.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, it looks like everybody dug it, so that's good. No outright hate. I'm happy about that.
Pamela didn't like it.
Oh, I'm sorry, Pamela.
She had all those vomit emojis.
Oh, okay. I thought that was. I consider vomiting a standing ovation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
She didn't say she hated it. She just had the vomit emoji. So.
Oh, okay. What, Justin? What other films would you recommend? What would be a good gateway after this for folks?
I think Video Violence is a pretty good one, because I think we were just talking about during a break, but it's like a pretty good example of like a well-made one. Like, because the director Gary Cohen, he had a theater background, so he had some knowledge of like things like blocking and like writing dialogue that worked, and he had new actors from his theater troupe, so a lot of them appeared in it. So Video Violence is a pretty like professional one that like has some themes that like make sense. Like it deals kind of directly with uh sort of the fear that violent media is going to lead to violence in real life, and then calls out some of our hypocrisy on like thinking violence is okay for children to watch versus why isn't sex. So there's stuff like that, like there's themes that resonate, so that's a good one. I'm trying to like reference my book here to see what I even wrote about that would make a good like intro one. Like one I've always kind of liked, this is sort of like not horror exactly, but like it was a short that was really popular for a while there. It's called Possibly in Michigan by Cecilia Condit.
Oh yeah.
It kind of like made the rounds as kind of like a what the fuck video, and got really popular like in Reddit, and then like there was like a TikTok trend a little while ago where people were like taking the theme song from that and watching it. I think that's a good one that everyone should check out. It's on YouTube for free. Cecilia Condit releases all of her shorts on YouTube. And it's just I wouldn't read too much about it before you watch it. Just try to watch it like not knowing anything about it, because it's definitely one of those things where like I kind of like Hallucinations, where I went into it, saw it, and I was like, I have no idea what the hell I just watched. I don't know what it means. I don't know what any of this stuff had to do with anything else, but like it's really sticking with me, and I can't stop thinking about it. And it's like a little bit more like on the lines of being well made. You can tell Cecilia had something she wanted to say with it. And the imagery is really fascinating. Most of the dialogue is like kind of sing-songy, like almost it's like half song, and it's like kind of nonsense stuff. But it's really cool. So that's one to check out. Like there's some like J.R. Bookwalter stuff that's cool. Like I highlight Ozone in my book. That's really like pretty high production value for an SOV horror movie. The Dead Next Door is not SOV, it's 8mm, but that's a cool one to check out too. It's also by Bookwalter. That was sort of infamous for being like partially funded by Sam Raimi. He bankrolled part of it, and he has, I think he goes by, what's it called, the Master Cylinder on the credits. Like he didn't want his name on it because he didn't want to like overshadow the movie, but like it's a zombie movie, and it's kind of like a standard zombie movie, but there's some cool practical effects in there, like impressively made for an 8mm film. Those are some of the ones like really jump out to me. Like let's see if there's anything else for SOV stuff. We talked about Limbo a little bit. That's by Tina Kraus. She did that like kind of later on in the like late 90s. It's like one of the last like true SOV horror movies are made. That one's pretty cool. And lots of interesting visual stuff going on in there. And she's one of the very few female SOV filmmakers too. Like that wasn't really a thing back then. I'm trying to think, like the Burning Moon is another one that's kind of like cool. Olaf Ittenbach, who made that, he's done a lot of really cool stuff actually in his career. It's all in German, so it's subtitled, but like just super impressive like practical effects. They're not as like heady in terms of like any subject matter, but he's another one that like kind of made video work for him. Like he had some cinematic sort of like shot setups and some dramatic like storytelling things, and like he kind of has like a visual look that kind of works on video, but like it's just the practical effects are just amazing. Like especially in The Burning Moon, there's like a scene near the end of the movie that's like supposed to be depicting hell, and it's just like some of the most like disgusting gore you can imagine. But then he'll go to something like Premutos, which was just released a little while ago by Unearthed Films, like which is like Peter Jackson-ish like splatter humor stuff, and it's like that's really well done and humorous as well. So there's like there's a few things going on out there like where like the technical skill that's on display is like just way above where you think it should be for that type of movie. Most of that's concentrated on practical effects, but still like there's some cool stuff hanging out there. And then like for more modern stuff, like there's just a lot of you can kind of see like the lineage going on like into people doing like digital stuff today. Like Joe Meredith is one of my my favorite like modern underground horror filmmakers. He like does a lot of practical creature effects and stuff too. He reminds me a lot kind of the Polonia brothers and too in terms of like just really in sort of ingenious like design with like just like out of nothing. He even does like some stop motion stuff. Like he does like these he doesn't really have a feature film, but they're like longer shorts. They're like 45 minutes a piece. They all kind of take place in the same universe. He's released 4 of them. They're all kind of like about an alien invasion that where these alien creatures like take over human bodies, and it's like really body horror related and like sort of like The Thing, and just lots of like flesh rending with like weird little like tentacles and like arachnoid appendages popping out of their body parts and stuff. So that's really cool too. Yeah. So I totally recommend Joe Meredith. Like, go check out his stuff. I don't think his stuff's widely available, but you can buy it directly from him on DVD. And so that's cool. Yeah, like I really like Scott Shermer. Like I talked about his movie Found in the book, but like all of his stuff is really intriguing to me. His stuff is like a little bit more dreamlike and like more not as heavy on like gore or transgression in terms of like visceral things, but like it's a little bit more heady, like more like thoughtful themes and more I don't know. He's just doing a lot more with like pushing like queer cinema forward, I guess. Like there's a lot more honest depictions of like people who are gay or bisexual or other places on the spectrum that you just don't see, like, and not making a big deal of it. It's like that's just how his characters are, which horror is a little bit more of an accepting genre than a lot of ones, but there's still work to be done. And I think he's up there, like just making it a little bit more common that characters exist on, in that area. And it's not like they're not an outsider because of it. It's just who they are. Yeah. Those are some examples that pop in the head.
Awesome. We're going to hope everybody's taking notes, and we'll, and also grabbing your book, which we put a link up for a bit ago, but you can get from TerrorVision and learn a lot more about these movies. If you're interested by this film, it's read it and get into it.
Yeah, I look at about like 40 movies and do like kind of an in-depth like review of them, and then like try to dig into like some of the context that was surrounding like their creation, like a little bit about like the budgeting. And then I interview like another 22 of the filmmakers, like pretty in depth. A lot of them are really cool, like willing to like devote their time to chatting with me for like, a good amount of time, and go pretty like honestly and in depth about like what the challenges were to making it, like what tricks and tips they used to make the movies. And then like I kind of provide like some context and like what, the how the technology evolved to allow it, like what was going on in like American society, especially that led to like the popularity of horror in the 80s, and like what led to video stores like, blowing up, and what led to them like falling apart, and just tell a story like through, leading through the rise and fall of this, and then kind of like the resurgence that's happened in amateur filmmaking over the last like 15 years or so.
Right on. Sam, do you have some stuff that came in the mail that you want to show?
I sure do. I got one that came from NBD that they're putting out, Punto Rojo. I don't know if you can see that, which is a foreign film. I haven't watched it yet. And my Vinegar Syndrome order finally came in. So very excited.
Ooh.
With some 21st century buried alive, which I really dig. It's not a good movie, but I like it. Finally got the new Horrible Dr. Hitchcock, which is
that's beautiful.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. I mean, look at that. And the back cover is really nice. So I'm super excited to watch that tomorrow. And then, Bill, I finally splurged and got this. You knew that I would eventually get the Camille Keaton in Italy set. So
I knew you were going to buy that damn thing.
Yeah, it was marked down finally.
Not that anyone else shouldn't.
No, but yeah, it's definitely for me. So yeah, that's what came in this week. Not a ton of stuff, but a good week. Quality over quantity this week. That's what I'm saying. So I'll be hopefully getting some time to watch those this week.
Here's some cool ads I've been running on the page. These actually haven't run on the page yet, so we can
Oh,
get a preview look at these. These are all from. I'm currently just starting 1966 in the Phoenix and Tucson area of Arizona. How about that?
oh,
These old time theaters. This is amazing. It was The Raven, Tales of Terror, and Witchcraft, starring Lon Chaney Jr. And the other theater had Black Sabbath and Mask of the Red Death.
oh,
These spook show options. These graphics are amazing too.
oh yeah.
I just really miss hand drawn illustrations.
Isn't it beautiful?
Everything's going to be AI generated soon, and that's going to be fun.
Yuck. Well, whatever. I guess there's always a new thing that pisses the old people off.
Definitely at that age where I'm getting pissed off at everything. That's unfortunate.
Oh, look at that. The skull. Oh,
And the Blob.
yeah.
The new Hide and
Wow.
Fright.
Yeah. Some hellish horrors. Man.
The
I
Blob
love
is
those
pretty
two.
hellish.
It's hellish. I like those two cars with the type knocked out of them. I have a feeling that those might show up in some of your design work at some point.
They might. I don't know. The Blob really freaks me out. It's always been one
Yeah.
of my the most disturbing monsters to me. And ever since I saw Beware the Blob first. Now, of course, that is extremely mild for most of it, the blob action. But as a kid, it really affected me because I was like, oh my God, it's eating Marlena Clark. It's climbing up her legs, which really freaked me out. And then I saw the original. I thought the original was like, even though the monster was really silly looking, like the stop motion, it was scary to me anyway. And then the 88 one, of course, amazing.
Yeah, it's hard to get much better than the 88 Blob, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
I saw that they're I can't remember who's remaking it. Someone well known that I can't remember is trying to remake the Blob. And it's just like, I mean, I guess the 88 version is a remake, and that worked, but whatever. I don't know. I don't know how you can.
Yeah, Rob Zombie was going to do it at one point.
Yeah, I read that too. Like, speaking of old people getting mad at things, I mean, I'm gonna get mad about that too because it's just another one of those movies where
Yeah.
Why remake it? It's like the pinnacle of practical effects. Like I don't know.
And where are you going to get Candy Clark? Someone like Candy Clark again? You're not. It's not going to happen. Giving away her pie at the end of the night. Look at this. Maybe
Wow,
versus
maybe. Yeah.
Maybe Van Doren.
I love her. Wow.
This just screamed Sam Panico, so I had to put this one up.
Thank you.
Navy versus the Night Monsters is another Killer Tree movie.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
There aren't that many Killer Tree movies. There's the one with Cameron Mitchell. That's the best one.
There's the Triffids.
Yeah. That one's, I mean, yeah, that one's good too.
Trees, but
sort of. Yeah, that's more like killer plants. I'm talking about trees.
Isn't there's a tree in one of the Amicus movies, like an evil tree that tears somebody up.
And Brides of Blood.
Yeah.
The killer trees that grabs well, it doesn't kill her, but it's eating Beverly Hills at the end of them. It has pieces of her body all over as if it was eating her. Tree. Anyway, stunning films, all of them. Here's another stunner of a pair. Dracula, Prince of Darkness. I don't know. When I was a kid, Dracula was my favorite monster, and I just lived for all Dracula movies. And by the way, Nora, I have not watched Tender Dracula yet. Have you?
I have not yet either. I have not. So I will try to this week.
So, but I was hard to please. as a kid with Dracula movies, and I was a little bummed out when I saw Dracula Prince of Darkness because there's not a lot of Dracula in it. It's just like all a bunch of bullshit and talking, and then all of a sudden there's like, oh, well, they glimpse him. They saw him for a couple minutes, and then like finally it gets going, and you're like, okay, now there's some Dracula action.
That's like me as a kid watching Godzilla movies. I'm like, I don't care about any of these people
Yeah.
and their problems. I'm not here for that.
Does that mean you weren't a fan of -1 or Shin Godzilla?
I haven't seen it yet, so I'll probably, now that I'm older, I'll probably.
They're
like
both very much concerned with what the people have going on in their lives.
I
Yeah.
They're
love
both great in my
-1.
opinion, but
-1 was amazing. I just, it really blew me away. I can't wait to see it again.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it. Unfortunately, I didn't get the chance to see it. Oh, well, this is a night for me at the movies right here. I mean, these are a dream double feature.
I don't know, Sam. Could you stand the shock?
It's a shockorama. I think I could handle the shock of Billy the Kid versus Dracula and Jesse James meets Frankenstein's daughter. I mean, yeah, I can do it. Oh,
Now,
or I mean, come on.
yeah, I'm really into the artwork for this movie. And granted, these images do appear in the movie, but somehow they just never come together and make something fantastic in Horrors of Spider Island. Although it is pretty groovy. I dig it. This poster, on the other hand, makes it look like the most terrifying thing you've ever seen.
Yeah, and it's probably not.
It's not. Definitely. I can honestly say Horrors of Spider Island would never be the most terrifying movie. Well, it was like a nudie cutie, sort of.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and there's different cuts of it that have a little more of that too.
It was called It's Hot in Paradise.
Yeah.
Although it did have a monster in it. The nudie cutie version also had the monster in it, but the Horrors of Spider Island was a more successful ad campaign, probably.
Oh, look at this night at the Rodeo Big Sky.
I love Curse of
night.
the Fly. Yeah, Curse of the
Yeah.
Fly is just amazing. I love all the Fly sequels. I love Return of the Fly.
Yeah.
Even The Fly 2 was good.
I just watched it finally and I didn't mind it. That's a positive review.
the dog scene, no.
Yeah.
That's
Oh
rough.
yeah.
It hurts.
This is a great night at the movies though.
I saved this one for last.
Yeah, wow.
All right.
That is crazy.
This was on Christmas in 1965. It was one of the Christmas Day offerings in the I think this is Tucson.
One can only hope that you also got to see Renee Cardona Santa Claus at the same time. But I would definitely go see this. That's amazing.
Now, of course, the English title of this is Tom Thumb and Little Red Riding Hood, but this was the original title, and it says that they're versus the monsters, which is more accurate. This is not a children's. Well, it is a children's movie, sort of, but it's not really like a kiddie matinee type thing.
No,
because there are monsters in it, and there's a vampire, a werewolf, Frankenstein,
an evil witch.
Yeah, well, that is fairy tale-ish, like the evil
Yeah.
like the queen from Snow White, sort of. Anyway, I knew you'd get excited about that.
I'm super excited about that. I wish I was a young child on Christmas Day. Feliz Navidad, I would say. Let's go see that.
All right.
Well, thanks for staying up late, everybody, and doing the late movie, not late night movie, late movie with us. Justin, thanks for staying up late. Enjoy your road trip tomorrow.
I'm gonna try.
Yeah.
We'll see. Hopefully, I can stay within the lanes with 5 hours of sleep. But
I have
thanks for having me on,
someone
guys.
I have someone coming to do my basement lights tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. Can't wait.
That's going to be the
What
excitement
fan?
of the whole weekend, I'm sure.
Yeah. And then I'm supposed to go to a museum, which we'll see.
What museum are you going to?
The Natural History Museum or Carnegie. Why do you ask? There's relatives in town, so we're taking them out.
I knew it had to have been. What other reason would there be to go to that place?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love just going to museums that are an hour and a half away and dicking around. So yeah.
Yeah.
I'll make it fun.
Who wants
It'll
to
be
blow
fun.
Sunday on a scene like this?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, sleeping in and watching movies or going to a museum. Who can say? But it'll be fun. I hope everybody has a great week, and we'll be off next week, but we'll be back the week after. Movies to be announced shortly. Don't forget to go to TerraVision and get Justin's book, and hopefully you get a couple sales out of this for staying up late with us. We appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys having me on. It's fun to talk about it.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks, Bill, for everything too, and see you guys next week.
All right. Have a great week, everybody, and see you in.
Under 17 not admitted without parents or guardian. Under 17 not admitted without parents or guardian.